Sick Harrison Price for Monday, August 18th, 2025, coming to you from the Nation Network studio, built by Arbor Lee, here at the Historic Wall Center in this show presentation of Bet365. Matt Sick Harrison alongside Blake Price, four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson, hitting switches and conducting things. We have a big show planned for you today. After, well, let's face it, an awesome weekend at BC Place.
Yeah, it really was.
Where the two primary tenants play. One wins, but one has a day, night, evening event for the ages. And a little more hockey talk here as well, as we're into the second half of August. How was your weekend?
I just got an email about my daughter's hockey tryout. So we are getting very close to hockey season, Matt. Got that going for us.
Time of year where J-Pat's on high alert, looking for signs of hockey. Listening for signs of hockey, even smelling signs of hockey.
Yes.
I imagine you'll see some Canucks back in town here this week or next.
As soon as that coolant is turned on at your local arena, that's hockey season. My weekend was fine. My weekend was good, and the sports was spectacular. Love seeing Nathan Rourke and the Lions back in a swing, and it's a few seconds that ruins the night for the Whitecaps. Yeah. A few inches, 2 bits off the woodwork, and we'll get into it. But yeah, it was a fun weekend.
Yeah, it was a fantastic weekend. I went to both games. I have a friend in from out of town.
You lived at BC Place.
I basically did. Yeah. Brought the extended family to the Lions game on Saturday. My parents are former Alouettes season ticket holders.
No kidding.
So they always enjoy going to the Lions Alouettes game. A friend in town from Montreal who got stuck here because of the Air Canada strike. So we're having an extended vacation with him, and he's a big footy guy. I said, well, if you're going to be here Sunday night, we got to go to the Müller game. So we went to that as well. Also hit up some of our favorite spots around Vancouver, hit the beach yesterday. So yeah, big weekend. And a big week ahead here as well. Let's get into our Bogey Juice poll question. Luke Hughes, he remains unsigned in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
He was called the top off-season priority for general manager Tom Fitzgerald back on Canada Day. And yet there he is, still lingering with these unsigned RFAs. So we're asking, should the Canucks tempt the Devils with a huge trade offer for Quinn's brother? You can vote yes, you can vote no. Do so at the Sick Harrison Price X and YouTube channels. We have long talked about what it would take to reunite the Hughes brothers here in Vancouver. And of course, with the Devils having two of them, it's much more difficult. We had in the past focused our attention on Jack Hughes, and let's face it, with the Canucks center depth chart right now, Jack Hughes would be a welcomed addition. Of course, Jack Hughes is going to cost sun, moon, stars, and that's even if he and the Devils want something like that. Luke Hughes, I think, is a little more gettable. And then you have two Hughes brothers lining them up down the left side of
critical mass.
Defense.
Quorum.
Absolutely. What do you think?
It's interesting. I mean, for those that are looking at the poll question and saying, oh, it'll get done, it probably will. But it is notable because there are not many RFAs that are not done. For the vast majority of the league, they have taken care of this category of player. Luke Hughes, Marco Rossi, Mason McTavish, Connor Zary, and Luke Evangelista are really the only players of note left on the RFA board. There are bit players, guys that have been up and down, but in terms of regulars, it's down to like 5 significant RFAs that are unsigned, and Luke Hughes is one of them. They have cap space, so they have the ability to fit him. They have the ability to answer any offer sheets, and the Canucks can't make an offer sheet anyway by virtue of their draft pick situation, unless they went over the top with the 4 firsts, I suppose. And I don't think you do that for Luke Hughes. But in terms of just sheer commodities that you already have in the cupboard, I mean, I think it might be interesting to pick up the phone.
So a few things here. First of all, let me correct myself. Jack Hughes does not have trade protection. So Luke Hughes is an RFA without arbitration rights. And when you're an RFA without arbitration rights, you really don't have a ton of leverage against your
Which
club.
makes you think he should be signed.
Yeah, so that cuts both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, like that could be the New Jersey Devils really just want to put the screws to him on the salary and keep it as low as possible. But yeah, there's also a school of thought of how do you have an RFA without arb rights? Not done yet on August 18th. Our friends at AFP Analytics project, well, a bridge and a longer-term contract for Luke Hughes. The bridge would be 3 by $5.7 million. The longer term 6 by $8.3 million. But of course, a lot of that would be banking on the potential of Luke Hughes as a former one-time fourth overall draft pick, as he was in 2021. Of course, not to mention, of course, the bloodlines with his father having worked in the NHL, his two brothers playing in the NHL. It's been 2 full seasons for Luke Hughes in the National League. 82 games where he managed 47 points as a rookie in 23-24, a very good rookie season.
Yeah.
And then 44 points over 71 games in his second season. Both occasions he's playing more than 21 minutes a night. Both occasions he is a mighty dash player, minus 25 in his rookie season, minus 9 last year. We understand plus minus is an imperfect stat, but again, both of them well down the minus side of the ledger. He would not be cheap in the least, but of course...
To acquire or to sign, because you'd have to do both of those things, of course.
Mm-hmm. So in the Canucks case, you're probably giving up a top 4 defenseman to help fill the void that would be created there. I think you have to top up with some sugar. I mean, the New Jersey Devils will know exactly what you're getting at if you make the offer there. But yeah, I think it's worth picking up the phone and saying, hey, like, why do you have an RFA with no arb rights unsigned at this point? And is there any chance you'd be looking to move him?
And for them, it's also them, to make that deal happen. What makes this a bigger long shot is it gives up the Quinn Hughes dream for them. Right, so you are acquiring that dream. That is you're getting Luke Hughes, and you're buying the end of the dream for the New Jersey Devils. So, it would be expensive. And the question for fans and for the Canucks would be, would that still be worth it? Is buying the security of a Quinn Hughes departure worth it to go over the top?
I think it is. I think if you have an opportunity here to go over and above as a way of securing Quinn's future here in Vancouver, you have to consider that, Blake.
You do, and you also have to consider the fact that he's a pretty good defenseman. For those that don't watch a lot of New Jersey Devils hockey, he's not Quinn Hughes in any way, shape, or form. He's big. He's got good size, Luke Hughes does. Not quite as prolific, not quite as effortless a skater, obviously, as his brother. But as you heard from Matt rolling out the stats, he's not incompetent points-wise. No. He just does it in a different way than Quinn does. So he's a really nice player. He's not going to be cheap in the long run. Like, this contract will immediately put him into the multi-million-dollar realm.
Yep.
And you've got to also pay a hefty price. Is a player, a pick, and a high-end prospect going to be enough? Like,
I think you have to consider that.
Would you get the Devils' attention with a high-end prospect, your first-round pick, and a legitimate player?
Well, Marcus Pettersson has a no move, but or he's got a 15-team. Let me look this
up. Would
up.
Elias Pettersson be a good enough defenseman for them? Elias Pettersson?
Yeah, sorry. Marcus Pettersson has a no-move clause. But if he'd be willing, I think you're looking at something like him or first-round pick and Lekramaki.
So Elias Pettersson's not enough, you don't think?
Well, we've talked about it in the past. Elias Pettersson may be more desirable here than elsewhere. Plus, you do have to move some money out, I think, to afford a Luke Hughes extension. Although, if you're going bridge, maybe it's close enough. But if you're going bridge, that also complicates the whole activity from the jump, right? Like you want the Hughes brothers here long term. Anyways, August 18th have thus far struck out on getting that top two center that Jim Rutherford had talked about. We know this has been an active management group in the dead of August, and as we have gotten closer to training camps and the start of preseason, we'll see if Rutherford and Alvin have any more surprises for us this time around. Should also mention Frank Saravelli last week was talking about this and said, I feel like this might be a little bit more of a difficult one. Maybe Hughes is incentivized to take a bit of a shorter deal. That is interesting. Because typically teams with an ascending asset like this, Blake, they want to lock them up long term.
Yeah.
Right?
And
so a shorter term deal, and we've heard about bridge deals in the Marco Rossi context in Minnesota and the Mason McTavish context in Anaheim. The bridge deals at this stage of a player's career, when they are players in ascension, and I think you can argue quite legitimately that all three of Rossi, McTavish, and Luke Hughes are players and assets in ascension, it tells you that something's amiss there, right? Well, it tells you either that the organization isn't willing to commit on the term side of things or the dollar side of things, doesn't necessarily want to go to those sorts of price tags this soon. And it also tells you that the player, because, of course, the players always want the longer term and the more money, it also creates a situation with the player that can be difficult to manage going forward.
Well, apparently the Hugheses want to be locked into the same year. That way, the allure of staying with each other isn't lorded over them during contract negotiations. So it wouldn't surprise many if Luke wants to be signed through 2030 like Jack is, so that they both can negotiate in good faith rather than be like, well, we know he's, if it's him expiring before Jack, then they go to him and say, hey, listen, Jack's still here. You want to play with Jack, don't you? And if he goes past Jack, they go to Jack in 2030 and say, hey, but Luke's here. You don't want to leave him. We know you don't want to leave him. So they want to be in lockstep so they can negotiate together, but that doesn't jive, obviously, with the club in one way or the other.
It's a new flavor of bogey juice.
Grape. Teased this a few weeks ago that this was in the works. Folks, it has landed on your doorstep. This is made with 100% rye spirits. Not rye per se. It's more of a vodka flavor. It's a rye spirits developed by Resurrection Spirits. You've heard us talk about them before. And a bold grape flavor that will have you coming back for more. And that means more bogeys. No one's expecting you to get birdies throughout your round. When you finish with a double, a triple, 12 bogeys, and maybe a par or two thrown in there, hey, that's reason to dip into the bar.
A quint. My last hole, I made a quint.
You did a quint on a par 5?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's a 10 spot.
It's a moose.
Bogeyjuice.com. Our top story brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, a foolish winery. Thomas Müller debuts, and it's nearly perfect. What could have
so close
been? The Bayern Munich footballing legend plays the first home game of his career outside of Germany. 634 appearances and 195 goals for club and country at the senior level. And at age 35, and he'll be 36 in a few weeks, he's a Vancouver Whitecap playing in Major League Soccer. Comes on in the 61st minute to a standing ovation from a sellout crowd of more than 26,000 at BC Place. He is immediately leading, directing traffic before the ball is even whistled into play. I was talking with our friend Charmaine Crooks after the game, and needless to say, she knows a thing or two about leadership, and that's the first thing that she noticed. She said, we were watching him on the touchline, and then the second he got onto the field, all of a sudden, like, he's ordering people around and telling them where to go, and that's natural, right? Like, and he talked about that, and we'll get into that. Like, he's no shrinking violet. This is something that he comes by honestly with regards to thinking the game and positioning his teammates just so.
I don't imagine he wears the captain's armband anytime soon. They're going to give that to longtime guys. Brian White currently wears it, remember, because the usual captain, Ryan Gauld, is on the sidelines, we know. Who does Ryan Gauld give it to when he's not there? Ranko Veselinovic. Yeah. He's also gone. So they're missing so much leadership right now. I don't think anybody's going to, furrow an eyebrow over him coming in being so young and starting to direct traffic.
I was going to say, whoever wears the captain's armband, I think, is somewhat immaterial going forward, because I just think the more he plays and gets familiar with his teammates and with this league, I think everybody is going to look to Muller.
Well, I think he's going to defer somewhat to the incumbents. Like, he was already asked on Apple TV, give your best five-a-side team in his entire existence, and he placates the home audience and says Brian White is my striker, and he eventually got around to Andres Kubas as his defensive midfielder as well. So he knows whose team it is currently with all of the injuries that this team has gone. So I think he'll respect that, but he's still not going to shrink, as you said.
He comes on, and moments later, he scores on an incredible strike near the top of the 18-yard box, but it's called back because Brian White was offside and brought to his knees in disappointment for not being able to give Muller that moment. Then the deeper cut of a late Houston equalizer to earn a 1-1 draw at BC Place. So the supporters don't go home all that happy, because 3 points turned into 1 in the late stages of the match. But an incredible day for soccer supporters and for sport in this city as the game turns into an event. It captures the community's attention. Muller is doing his part. He's greeting fans hours before the game. I saw that tweet the Whitecaps put out, be down at Terry Fox Plaza at, was it 3:30?
Yeah.
Or something like that for Thomas Müller's arrival. He gets out of the SUVs in a Vancouver Whitecaps FC sweater. He's high-fiving fans, huge smile, posing for photos. Like, just his buy-in, Blake, to everything that this signing is about, because, of course, it is about more than just soccer and wins and losses and goals. His buy-in has been extraordinary. The Whitecaps should feel very, very fortunate that he has brought this sort of what more can I do attitude.
And you have to assume that's not accidental. You have to assume that they did the homework on the player, his fit on the pitch, and whether that he could drop in and be of impact early here, because they're in a trophy push, of course, and what it would do off the pitch. And we're not noted for having a German population here. There are Germans here. I'm married into one of those families.
I was going to say you have German in-laws.
Yes, but it's not a notable presence here in Vancouver per se. But he's just here for everybody. He's not here for the German population. He's here for everybody. And by the fact that it sold out in the lower bowl, and we'll see how the ticket selling goes throughout the course of the week here, but you can anticipate that that's going to be maybe the norm here for the rest of this season. Results will help to dictate that. If he has scored that goal, if that goal counts and he scores the winner, oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Heck,
if he does, I think much like Pavel Bure's first game, like years from now, there's going to be like 72,000 people who said they were at the game, because if that goal stands up, we have a lead item not just on local sports, but on national and international sports, because even the people across the pond and certainly in Germany are going to be like, look at Thomas Müller.
And it wasn't exactly an ass and in goal, right? Like
it was
exactly what you expect them to do.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I got to say this. I think the Caps did a really good job of handling this throughout. Let's remember, this is a very good soccer city. By North American standards, this is an extraordinary soccer city.
There's history.
With deep history in the. There's not a lot of cities in North America that can claim a sort of deep history in the sport of soccer and achievement over the years. But this is one of them, going back to NASL days and the Whitecaps and their 79 championship. So I was interested to see how are they going to handle it inside the stadium through the official channels, right, of the Don Andrews on the PA, but of course the video board and everything that's handled in that regard. And I thought it struck the right balance between noting how big and seminal a day it was, but also not getting like too awestruck, not getting too slobbery about, oh, Thomas Müller, and this is all about just Thomas Müller. The pregame wasn't all about him. The in-house camera did not train on his every movement as he walked into the stadium with his teammates. The starting lineups were announced, followed by a first game recognition of Müller to a very nice ovation. And then I thought the fans in the stadium took it from there. You know, the buzz began as he started warming up on the touchline, eventually made his way to the referee's assistant. He was going to come in as a substitution, and there was a murmur through the crowd as people understood.
And the supporters had the tifos up.
Absolutely.
There was buzz from the fans, but...
And then he's announced, and it brings the crowd to its feet. And he's announced alongside another substitution, too. I wondered if they would give him the single substitution shine, but no. Jesper Sorensen, head coach, chose it as part of a tactical package alongside, I believe it was Ali Ahmed, who also came on. And Müller steps on the pitch. It brings the crowd to its feet. Standing ovation. Post-game, and we're going to get to a clip here, but just to recap what he had to say post-game. Quote, I'm now fresh into this team, new into the league. I need a few weeks to figure out what is right or wrong, but to be honest, I feel very good after this game. So good first impression on his accord. And yes, it is. We have talked about this in the past, and you'll hear Bobby Lenarduzzi later in the program also speaks to the distinction of MLS from European soccer leagues. It tends to be more of an athletic league. America tends to produce more athletes who are playing soccer and learning and improving at soccer as opposed to the great technical skill.
Jaden Nelson's a great example of that, and watching him do what he does.
Yeah,
you know.
But I told you I have an English football friend who's a bit of a snob who was there last night. And he's sending me texts going, "Who is this number 7? He could play in Europe." And I went, "Well, he did play in Europe, but he's back." And yes, extraordinary pace and athleticism from Nelson was very, very good last night. But yes, Müller is going to have to understand. We talked a little bit about this on Friday. Vanni Sartini certainly put this into clear light for me over his coaching tenure, that your designated players, and Müller is not yet a designated player by salary, but they have to come in and understand that the guys around them are not at the technical level of Bayern Munich teammates or of that level. And they have to tailor their game and play within the limitations of their teammates and do everything they can to make them better and make them successful.
Which is why I think he did his own due diligence. We talked about the due diligence from the Whitecaps. I think he did too, and looked at this team and what they bring to the table and said, that actually works for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the wingers that the Whitecaps have is not too dissimilar from the range of wingers that Bayern has trotted out in recent years, and left and right backs. You think about Alphonso Davies and his speed. They've often had great strength down the flanks, setting up for Müller and Lewandowski and others in the middle to finish. And he's got a new Lewandowski and Brian White. He's got those wingers. So a lot of those
similar player
on
profiles
the relative scales,
on an MLS level.
On an MLS scale.
I hear you. He said following the match that the noise in the stadium and the reaction of his teammates after that first goal was amazing. There was a funny line where he talked about walking through the city and, quote, can buy my own stuff. Relax a little bit between the lemons and the blueberries at the grocery store. He's doing his own groceries, everybody, and it sounded like that was not something he was doing in Germany.
Well, in
I'm
a
not
sense,
sure he can just go to the grocery store in Germany, but he has here in Vancouver.
He better enjoy that while he can, because if this goes well, those days may be numbered in terms of how long he can do that for.
He'll be back to ordering groceries.
Yes.
He said his body felt good even after the crash, quote unquote. There was a heavy knock there where he went to the pitch and said, "Now I feel free." And we're learning he's a bit of a character, right?
And officiating's
like
another adaptation he's going to have to make here. MLS not noted for its officiating.
No. He mentioned that he thought the pace and the intensity was high, and he already remarked that he feels the team can improve a little bit with what he called his early work for positioning. So this is the work. This is the work you do to be in position, to accept those passes and continue a sequence of play.
Well, yeah, trying to condition your brain as a player that is inferior to, like, if you, no matter what your sport is, you could be getting on the ice with somebody that is just really good. Trying to guess what their great brains might be thinking, it's a fool's errand. So you've got to do your best to sort of be aware of what you are seeing and try your best to guess where he wants you to be, because you're not him for a reason. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds here for the teammates. And yet he's such a great player. I think he'll make them better.
He said the organizing from the moment he stepped on the pitch was a natural state for him. He said that will never change, even if it's my first game. So I think that gives you a bit of a peephole into the brain of Thomas Müller and how it works and how he's been as successful as he's been over the course of his footballing life. Now, in terms of how he plays, get used to the term Raumdeiter.
That was one of the tifos that the supporters had.
Raumdeiter. Raumdeuter. And I was early in the match, I met our friend Kurt Appleby, who is a big German soccer guy, has family who lives over there, knows the language a little bit. And I said to him, "Kurt, it's amazing the Germans have a word for space interpreter." He goes, "Oh no, that is a self-made term from Thomas Müller, who many years ago, when explaining how he plays the game, talked about being the interpreter of space, and then Raumdeiter stuck as a nickname. Raum meaning room or space, Deiter meaning interpreter or investigator. He's kind of like, is he in a class of his own in this regard, Blake? Like, he's talked about as basically playing positionless football or not your natural position. Let's take a listen to Thomas Müller in his own words explaining all this, and we'll come back and discuss.
Always played during my career almost between the lines, in the pockets. Even if I started on the right wing, I was always finding gaps into the box as well. Do my runs, do my work against the ball. So normal stuff. Try to be dangerous as well, and to strike a goal or to score a goal and find the last pass. I'm a little bit disappointed with this one situation. I missed the pass to Ali. The first moment I thought it was perfect, but then it gets quicker and quicker. I don't know how this happened. Yeah, but I feel quite comfortable in this role, in the gaps, in the left gap, right gap.
I think he's referring to his very first pass of the match.
Yeah,
a little short from the edge of the box. But he's not unlike, again, the great players in any sport. You know what their game is. You think about Alex Ovechkin. How does he continue to score goals at this age? Because he knows where to be.
Understands space and how to exploit it. This is something that's this is something that the great athletes have in many a sport. I mean, Gretzky was an incredible interpreter.
Steve Nash and those triangles.
Friend Steve Nash used to talk about playing soccer in the off season and how it was a tool for his basketball because it had him understanding space and angles better. I, for the longest time, would get frustrated watching soccer because the ball would go forward and then all of a sudden the ball would come back and the next thing you know, the ball's back at the keeper's feet and I'm going, oh my God, look at all the territory they just sacrificed. Then somebody mentioned to me, no, you can't watch it as a game of territory gained and lost like football and hockey. Yeah. You have to understand it as a game of angles. You're always trying to create certain angles out there, and this guy has exploited them better than many. So we're very pleased to have the Raumdieter here and see what he has in store for us over his next matches.
And we should mention he played as the 10, as we expected he would.
So that's the central midfielder.
Well, it's the attacking midfielder.
The attacking,
eight is the central. The interesting part is going to be if Ryan Gauld comes back, and everybody's crossing your fingers that Ryan Gauld comes back, then what does it look like? Somebody presumably almost gets turned into a co-striker. Anyway, we'll cross the bridge when we get to it, but that's going to be the intrigue for me, is that I think the way we saw him last night last night is what we're going to see for the next few weeks. But if Ryan Gauld comes back, then we could be in for an interesting shuffle. Ryan Gauld looked okay as a forward. They've played on
I was going to say,
very rare occurrences. They've played him up top. So
Gauld is going to have to adapt to Müller.
Well,
right?
Yes, of course, but we still don't know at MLS at this age what is the best way to use Müller. Who knows? I'm sure he'll have a say in it.
With the draw, the Caps fall to third place in MLS West for the first time all season, and that's because both Minnesota and San Diego won this weekend. We've been talking about the derby between these three clubs at the top of the West all season long. Vancouver now functionally second place because they're 1 point back of Minnesota with a game in hand, but they're now 6 points back of San Diego. Also have a game in hand there, but of course would have to win that one and make up 3 points somewhere else. They're home Saturday at BC Place versus St. Louis, a 6:30 kickoff in what we all anticipate will be Thomas Müller's first start for the Caps.
Might just be a half, but I think they really want to see what Müller can do with the rest of the starting 11 in full fresh fitness, right? It's one thing for him to come on in the 60th minute with at that point, he's going to have, 9 starters that are still out there with him, but they're all exhausted from playing an hour already, right? For him to start a match with all the starters with fresh legs, that's a different scenario. And if they can get out to another early lead, preferably a 2-goal lead, that's where the magic is for having a player like this. Yellow Dog has an appropriate beer for such a late season acquisition. Not that they necessarily need rescuing, but saving for sure what has been a great season to date. The Rescue Lager by Yellow Dog on special for the month of August. There's a few left in that fridge. Unbelievable. After a weekend, I would have thought that was pilfered. Rescue Lager from Yellow Dog. Go check it out.
The NHL Network is it's keeping busy these days by going through rankings. We talked about their rankings of the top defensemen in the NHL last week as Quinn Hughes came in as number 2 on that list behind Cale Makar. Well, they've named their all-quarter century team here in 2025 as we are a quarter away through the new century. And those of you watching on visual mediums can see the names that are listed there. The defensemen Drew Doughty, Victor Hedman, Penticton's Duncan Keith, Cale Makar, Alex Pietrangelo, and Sycamous's Shea Weber. Those are the 2 British Columbians on the team. There are no Vancouver Canucks. And yet, when I looked at the lists, Blake, and I wanted to poke holes and find room for Vancouver Canucks, the problem here is that everybody on this list has at least one Stanley Cup championship, if not multiple Stanley Cup championships, the 2 exceptions being Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl amongst the forward ranks.
No, this is league-wide. If they separate it into conferences, you'd maybe have a fighting chance, but even then, really difficult. Really difficult if you haven't won a cup, because I think that's what they are. They're not just going by stats there. I think they're going on, the full package. Mm-hmm. And no Vancouver Canucks have the full package.
Yeah, and I mean, team success becomes a requirement when you start getting into those annals, those
when you're
echelons.
splicing it thin like
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
I mean, when you're trying to decide between Hall of Famers, then Stanley Cup championships come into the fray. We'll see what else the NHL Network has planned as this week in the final weeks of the offseason roll along. Blake, I'm beginning to think they're not going to land that top two center this summer. On July 1st, I tweeted out, hey, look, you've failed at mission A, getting the top two center, and you committed a bunch of the cap space, and they've since been able to recoup some of the cap space by trading out Dakota Joshua at full freight for a draft pick. But the hole remains. Amongst
wonder
the top
if
two centers, and I had a lot of people on July 1st just saying, hey, be patient, lots of summer to go, dominoes can still fall. Okay, we're 7 weeks later and still nothing. So I don't know if things are going to materially change with Marco Rossi or Mason McTavish to be able to land one of those two guys. But, I am now of little faith that we're going to see that piece that Jim Rutherford talked about is so necessary actually get added between now and the start of training camp in Penticton next month.
I'm not advocating for this, but the longer this plays out, I think they might be just Kevin Lankinening Jack Roslovic and trying to have that same scenario played out. Remember, they got Lankinen for a song. Like that was a good deal, given that he was. It was a great deal. He was interested by several teams. I think they're just trying to wait out Jack Roslovic and grind that number down so that maybe if something else comes along, like they've got enough money now, I would think, to sign Jack Roslovic. But
that might be the thing with Roslovic is, you moved Joshua, you have more money now. Give me some of it. And the Canucks saying, no, we are holding the line.
Yeah.
Let's get to today's menu, brought to you by our friends at Greta. Fantastic spot to watch the big game. To pregame to postgame, you are mere steps from the arena and stadium. But it's an even better spot for your upcoming party or event. If you've got a family reunion, summer sociable, end of season team party, team building event for your workplace, check out Greta. It's got fantastic street food on the menu. Poutine, tacos, smash burger, outstanding. Also the arcade that encircles the bar with a game for everybody. For more info or to book your event, go to GretaBar.com, Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. Patrick Johnston is going to join us next. Of course, Canucks beat writer for the Province and Postmedia, but has spent a lot of time, as many in the city have, covering Thomas Müller and Vancouver Whitecaps FC over the last couple of weeks. So we'll talk hockey and soccer with Patrick. And then Bob Lenarduzzi, Whitecaps legend and club liaison, who has seen a lot at that stadium, has been involved in a lot with soccer with the Whitecaps and in British Columbia. His take on Thomas Müller, the acquisition, what we saw last night, and what's to come.
And the closest Whitecap comparison that he played with as well.
Alan Ball back in 79, who had an outstanding career in England before coming off and coming over and being a finishing piece for the Whitecaps when they won their championship back in 79. All of that is coming up on the show. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day.
What did I say on Thursday? Scotty Scheffler is winning this tournament. Yes, it's not gaudy odds, but he's winning the tournament. He won the tournament.
Yeah, he sure did. Well, since you won and I lost because I had the tabbies in Regina plus the points, go ahead. What you got today?
I was tempted to just do that again, re-rack it. But instead,
that would not be allowed.
Why?
We need greater variety.
Oh, do we? Okay. I didn't know that requirement. Paul Skeens is not allowed a single one, this number, earned runs at home since June 3rd. He welcomes the Blue Jays today. Don't like their chances, despite the fact that it is a struggling Pirates squad. So I'm going with Skeens and the Pirates -1.5. That gets me plus 190.
I'm looking at that Giants-Padres game later this evening where XJ Robbie Ray is on the hill for San Francisco. Now, he lost to the Padres last time out. He'll want to even the score. He's only had a few poor starts all season long, and for the most part, every time he's had a poor one, he's bounced back pretty good. Nestor Cortez for San Diego has been decent in a couple of starts since coming over from Milwaukee at trade deadline, but I'm getting good value on the visitors here. The Giants at plus 125 with the better starter, so give me San Francisco to beat San Diego in Major League Baseball tonight. This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION. When doing so, must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Patrick Johnston coming up next. Carson Price from the historic Wall Center.
My 20-year-old daughter came up to me and said, Dad, he simply spikes left around. They've been a hit in the house.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Those above the age, of course.
You've got two of them now.
Yes. And I'm down to my last
competition in the Price family fridge.
They
now
are so tasty. So absolutely tasty. On the hot days especially. When you want something light, refreshing. Oh, so good.
Real fruit juice,
Real
over
fruit
ice.
Juice. Yeah.
Many flavors.
3 variety packs, 3 flavors within each. The peach pack, the limeade pack, the lemonade pack. You've got to check it out. For your next hangout, they are a crowd pleaser. When you're unsure, you're catering for a big group, have that in your arsenal. Have that in your
backyard parties, your barbecues are still ongoing here. There's still plenty of summer left. You're up at the cabin. You want to get some Simply Spiked.
Must be legal drinking age. Please celebrate responsibly.
Here's Patrick Johnston of the Province and Postmedia, who has been covering. Well, you've been everywhere here since we last spoke to you, since you last sat in for me, actually. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
How are you?
I'm not bad. I was going to say I don't have a Simply Spiked hat. You guys have kidded me out.
We'll get you one. We can get you one. No worries on that. Okay, well, we got to start with the big news. I saw you were there on Thursday for the unveiling of Thomas Müller.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Was it Wednesday?
Oh, Thursday.
Thursday. I can't even remember anymore. Blake did a great job, everyone.
Thank you.
I was going to say, first reviews on Blake as the host.
Marvelous. Just fantastic. Okay. Jacket looked great. Hair looked good from the front. That's all that matters.
Going for a haircut today. I noticed that too. Profile. Oof.
Honestly, Patrick, Thomas Müller looks like he wants to play ball here.
Yeah, he does.
When I read that line last week in the Athletic story about he was a little nervous about the idea of being a marketing tool to the German population in Cincinnati, I thought to myself, oh boy, what's going to happen here? He seemingly has dove right in to this. He understands the assignment here, that it's more than just performing on the football pitch, but also bringing together constituencies to BC Place. And we saw that with a sellout last night.
I mean, I think he perhaps even invented the assignment. He has 15 million followers on Instagram. And as was said to me by multiple people, is the third most, and I mentioned this in the story, third most followed soccer player on Chinese social media. The guy is a content machine. So when Axel Schuster, and I first talked to him about this, when they made the deal official a couple weeks ago, and I talked to him on the phone, I now understand what he meant when he was explaining the process, which was that initially, and I think everyone's relayed this story, but initially that the first real conversation was this 45-minute call with him and Jesper Sorensen and Thomas on a video call where they went over how they wanted to play and what he would bring to them as a player. And that Axel's point basically was the entire conversation was about football. It was not about anything else. And I did not understand what he meant until we got to the last few days, when you realize that and I wrote this, that they knew, they wanted to make it clear to him that they wanted the player and that the commercial aspects were entirely secondary. But the commercial aspects here are massive, because this is a guy that gets your team being talked about in Germany and in China. And so, and there's a reason why, because this is a guy, he's an outgoing personality. Blake, we saw him on stage. I mean, that is exactly what he is. Mm-hmm. Whether that's a persona or not, he seems perfectly happy to play it. And he's been doing this for a long time. And he's got the social media presence. He's got the content. He's got his own content team. Like they have been producing a video every single day that he has been since he arrived last Wednesday. And it is a ongoing thing. We've seen the impact on the Whitecaps already. Sold out on Sunday night. They literally sold out of Müller jerseys, and they're having to produce more. They're scrambling to get more supplied. Like, the whole story is absolutely remarkable. The
other interesting wrinkle here is, of course, the Apple deal was really around Lionel Messi. That's what made that thing fly originally. But now with Son signing in LAFC and this one here, there's talk of Korean broadcasts for LAFC. There's talk of German broadcasts now for Whitecaps games.
They were in the national standalone window last night, right?
Not officially a Sunday Night Soccer branded game for some reason, but it's going to be very interesting to see how this floats not only the Whitecaps but possibly MLS as well here, Patrick.
It really is the sort of the concept forever has been, maybe we can create this U.S.-based soccer brand, and they'd invent all these nonsense summertime tour matches that were preseason friendlies for, Bayern versus Manchester United, blah, blah, blah. And none of the, nobody was ever going to take that seriously. In a sense, maybe this is exactly what it actually always could have been, which is it's not a retirement league, but it's a league that has enough interest with smartly placed players and smartly selected markets. Now, somebody made this really interesting point to me about, if you think carefully about what the Whitecaps are saying and what they recognize about themselves, and I, Axel said this in an interview, I think, with Bild a couple weeks ago, when he was trying to frame to the German market who the Whitecaps are. And he made the comparison with Freiburg. And Freiburg are a sort of middling town in southern Germany, a lot of tech. The club that plays there had, until recent years, been sort of it was around, it was in Bundesliga, but they are a top 5 club now, and they have punched above their weight. They've been really smart in how they spend their money and what they do with their money. And the comparison, I mentioned to someone, and they were like, I can see what he's saying there, because if this goes well, and I mean, obviously we're one game in, but if this goes well and Müller has an impact, a late career impact, finds a nice groove here, I mean, this is a place that people do want to live if you're a European soccer player. Could this be the beginning of a trend of players recognizing there's a work-life balance that they can pull off here? And exactly, I mean, become this, again, you're trying to avoid the retirement league thing, but you're finding a place for guys to keep playing later in their career, and they can enjoy it, and the team's going to benefit, and the fans will benefit, and all these things, and you start becoming a bit of a second, it becomes a bit of a global brand, not a Premier League or a Serie A or Bundesliga or La Liga, but like something that's in that mix. And I found myself thinking back to the Paul Barber top 25 club comment 15 years ago. I mentioned this. Bobby Lenarduzzi was at the announcement, and I mentioned that to him. He laughed and said, I'm glad someone still remembers that. And the point, I think, going back, wasn't that they truly thought they would be a top 25 club in the world, but that the mentality had to be like that. Because if you think in those terms, you will draw attention, and that means you are taking it all very seriously, and people will take you seriously if you present yourself in such terms.
And it's not lifelong, but you can get it to a point where it regenerates itself. Like, again, if this goes well, it sort of feathers the nest for future successes and future acquisitions, I think.
Was it the keeper you were talking about?
Manuel Neuer,
We're going to talk some Canucks here with PJ in a second, but first, and mention this in the opening block, I also thought it was important how yesterday was handled in stadium. Like, if you're going to be a serious club as big as this signing was, like, the game had to have some importance as well. It couldn't have just been welcome Thomas Müller. And so when the Whitecaps walked out onto the pitch and there was no sort of like solo ISO shot on Müller taking his first steps onto BC Place turf, I was like, okay, what's going on here? And then sure enough, announced the starting 11 and then, hey, welcome Thomas Müller. I thought the crowd was fantastic. I thought it showed its sophistication as a soccer market yesterday, that we understood that he wasn't going to start. And then when you saw him warming up and when you realized he was walking to the scorer, to the third official to be introduced, and the rise that the crowd recognized the moment was upon us. Honestly, it's too bad about the offside because it's too bad about the late goal because we were almost close to perfect there by way of debuts.
I want to watch that. I have this long-standing argument I have with traditionalists that I think the offside rule should be changed. It should just be about your feet. As long as your feet are on side, who cares?
The lean is weird.
No,
I agree.
I've always thought the lean is weird anyway. But yeah, no, you're right. It would have been the storybook. But I think even in that moment, I mean, we saw what his impact was from a playing standpoint, was that he really is the Raumdeuter. He finds the space and he's just perfect at it. Like, he executes so well. And, obviously, I mean, people are all over Rio. Listen, the ball comes, you're going to try to score. Rios' job is to try to score. They will start finding where the holes are, where the guys want to go, what are tendencies, what should I do in this spot, what is Thomas going to do, what are my teammates going to do. There's a lot there to grow, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, you're right, like the fans, the whole presentation, the whole thing has been excellent. I mean, that press conference on Wednesday wasn't just because Blake did such a good job hosting. It was a really impressive event. And the turnout, I mean, you turn around, look at all the cameras. You want to know when a press conference is a real thing or just a bunch of people from the actual organization filling the seats. Obviously there were a lot of sponsored, people from TELUS and sponsors and so on in those seats, but there was a ton of journalists, and it wasn't just from here. It was obviously from Germany. It's been a really strong week for the Whitecaps in terms of all the presentation and connecting with everything. And yeah, now it's week 2, right? Like the task this is now the task. Is how do they carry this forward?
Well, yeah, and now his task is you've got to be a good player because there's been a lot of hype, and I'm with you. Even their social channels, I think they've hit it out of the park here in terms of shepherding this, let's face it, a seminal week, right, in club history.
Yeah, and they planned it well. I think it's just worth noting that, like, everything, they've been well planned, no hint of sort of last-minute scrambles or anything like that. That there's been a calculated effort here. They've empowered their teams to make it, or social media team to make an impact. Obviously, Müller on his own makes a huge impact, but the whole thing has been good.
He needs to start next game though, doesn't he?
Yes, of course he does.
Yeah,
of course he does.
Yeah.
And that part was good too. That there was sort of leaked out late last week, I think on Friday in an interview. He's going to play 30, so everybody had this expectation of what you're paying for.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what next week
which
looks like.
was important too, right?
Yeah.
Because like those who don't understand, like I was sitting with T-Mart yesterday, and he was there for the same reason I was, right? Hey, this is a massive soccer event in our city. And Trevor looked at me and he said, when do you think he comes in? 65th minute, 60th minute? I went, yeah, somewhere shortly after halftime where, he can take some of the limelight. Okay, on to the Vancouver Canucks. As we sit here, it's August 18th, Patrick.
Yep.
Do you have any faith, any confidence that second line center that would be more expensive not to get is coming prior to training camp?
I think I'm still where I was at with I can't remember, I was with Quads last week or was it with JPAT, but I think we're in a if there's a player, I think it's just that showdown now. They're just like, listen, we've got how much we want to pay, and this is what we're going to pay, and it's up to you to accept that. I mean, this is.
And you're talking free agent or trade? It could be either of those three.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, like that has been a Patrick Allvin trait. That especially when we get to this, like they don't, obviously they need the guy, but they're also careful about overspending and careful about going past their red line. So, that's my best guess. There's not a lot of noise to be read out there, but that's my just sort of my gut on it at this point is that there's a guy they want.
But that's free agent stuff, right?
Yeah, that's certainly free agent stuff.
The waiting out game is free
part.
Agent stuff. Yeah.
The trade part, that's a tougher one to read. I mean, remember when everyone said, "Oh, there'll be a bunch of dominoes," and I was always skeptical of the dominoes idea.
No dominoes.
I don't think there's. I have no doubt there's a guy that they're still looking at, and whether that's signing the guy, that's your showdown, or whether it's a trade, I don't know what the holdup there would be. But that's
if you're Verbeek or Bill Guerin. When do you get nervous about an RFA, or do you just say these guys are not great enough that I get nervous before December 1st?
Well, yeah, I think that's your deadline. I mean, it's so rare to have these kind of moments now. I mean, this kinds of things used to happen all the time, right? Like,
and they generally get signed in training camp. Like as much as it gets late.
I mean, Brock Besser, I guess, or like PD and Quinn Hughes, or those are examples here. But they're different. Like those guys were always coming back. It was just figuring it out.
Yeah, there were not rumors around those guys. Like there are rumors around these current guys.
Yeah, like was Marco Rossi really going to go back? I mean, maybe he'll go back to Minnesota, but like pretty sure the intention is for him to be elsewhere, and they're just trying to find the right deal for that. So it's we're just in that window. Things are going to happen. There's no rush now, right? Because the variables in front of us are so obvious. It's like these teams were interested in these guys for these reasons, and it'll shake itself out before the season starts, I think.
Hey, let me throw something at you that might be a little too galaxy brain for a Monday in August, but you've got pretty good brains, so I'm sure you can.
This is a good time to float the crazy stuff because maybe people will miss it if
here we go.
They would otherwise jump on you.
Here's the crazy stuff because from the moment Jim Rutherford made his wants to play with his brothers one day comment about Quinn. We got fixated on, is there any way you could unite the brothers here in Vancouver, which of course most difficult with two of them already playing for New Jersey. In fact, I think that week, Blake, we asked, do you sell the farm, do whatever you have to do to bring Jack Hughes to Vancouver? New Jersey general manager Tom Fitzgerald said on free agency day, if I'm not mistaken, July 1st, Canada Day, getting Luke Hughes signed was his top off-season priority. It has been awfully quiet around restricted free agent Luke Hughes with the New Jersey Devils. Are we going about this the wrong way? Would you make an overpay trade for Luke Hughes just to have two of the three of them here and then hope you can get the Jack domino to fall?
Who's under a long-term contract right now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you never say never, but if you're the New Jersey Devils, I just have the hardest time imagining they're willingly trading Luke Hughes. Right? Like it's hard. And
they are trying to win though this year, and maybe there's an NHL veteran like a Marcus, like who gets you further ahead in your
or Quinn Hughes.
They also
they're not getting Quinn this year.
I'm saying Luke for Quinn.
Well,
put him over there. That's galaxy brain, man. How about that? It's possible.
Offer sheet doesn't work either there because they have room. So,
and I mean, this is the thing. I remember when the offer sheet idea first came up with. I'm just like, you have to find a team that has no cap space. The cap's going up, so almost nobody's in trouble, and you have to find a willing participant and be able to make an offer that the other team's just going to say no to. And
no, but the point is that Luke is more disposable to the Devils.
No, I understand. No, I understand why you're arguing. Right? I understand the case. I absolutely understand. Like, sure, yeah. You love a defenseman like that. I'm just not sure the Canucks have really what it takes to pry that from a team that's not going to want to trade him anyway. Sorry, Matt, just pouring cold water on it. Never say never, but I'm going to pour cold water.
Which is funny because they actually have the assets to make that trade, I think.
Yeah.
Like Luke Hughes is a nice defenseman.
I'm not sure they have the assets for a Jack Hughes trade outside of something, completely crazy. But I do think you've got assets
but the Devils don't want to give up that little Joker's card that they've got.
That's it. That's it.
I guess no guarantee that he's
overpay.
a Devil, but
you're going to have to get them.
Well, I guess I say it in the sense of if you're trading for Luke Hughes, what are you giving up, and are you actually winning that trade? Like, if it's to keep Quinn happy, great, but I'm not sure I'm still not convinced. You got to get Jack, and that's just not going to happen. And then even then, is that enough? I don't know. It sounds weird to say, hey, we got your brother. Is that enough for you to stay? I think it goes bigger than just finding a sibling, I guess. It's what's the overall package of this team? What's the direction of this team? Can I win a Stanley Cup here?
There has at least been fan base criticism of Jack Hughes' performance in crunch time and his availability in crunch time with injury. So, I mean, at least from the fan side, it's not like it's 100% sunshine and rainbows for Jack. He's reached that point in his career now where people want him to carry mail, and he hasn't yet carried mail. So, but I don't know if that extends to management.
Not an uncommon criticism of players of this generation, I suppose.
Right. Young players. Time to carry mail even before you're ready to carry mail. Jack being 24 years of age. So.
All right. Thank you for this. And we might catch up next week. It may be a couple weeks down the road.
See. Yeah.
We'll see. But it's good to see you.
See you when we see.
It's great seeing you guys.
The Galaxy Brain.
Absolutely.
Patrick Johnson.
Take care.
Sekeres and Price from the historic Wall Center. This next segment brought to you by the Redwoods Golf Course, where Blake and I can attest. They have pros who teach, and they make you better. Or they teach you the game if you're just learning. Check it on out. The practice facilities at the Redwoods are absolutely fantastic. I mean, oh my God, the driving range goes on for days. They got a chipping facility. They have a putting green. Private and semi-private adult lessons are available and are flexible to your schedule. We're getting out there to play this week. Looking forward to that. And if you're looking for information on lessons, how to improve your game, or how to learn the game, redwoods-golf.com/instruction.
And if you're feeling sheepish, the lessons portion of the driving range is actually sequestered. It's private.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So you want to have people making fun of you. He doesn't know how to do that. And
we were over on the far end and probably for the best.
You feel very secure in being crappy at the toughest game.
Well, a night unlike any other at BC Place, so we thought we'd tap into the memory banks and the eyes to someone who has seen a lot at that stadium. It's our pleasure to welcome back to Sekeres and Price, Whitecaps legend and club liaison, the one and only Mr. Bobby Lenarduzzi. Bob, how are you? Thanks for the time here.
I'm good, thank you, and it's my pleasure.
Well, as mentioned, you've seen and done a lot in that stadium. What did you make of Thomas Müller and the debut last night?
Well, just a quick precursor to last night. Thomas Müller has been the most adapting guy to coming into a city that he's never been to before and just making himself available. And even last night prior to the game, he's up an hour before the match, being welcomed by about 5,000 fans. I mean, who does that? It's incredible. So that, I think, really prepped for the game last night. And I was talking to somebody, and then I heard a roar start. And then I thought, okay, well, he's coming off the bench. He stood up. He's getting ready to go in. And then the whole stadium realized he was coming on the pitch. So, and I will say, too, I think our club have done a great job of actually staging the whole event from the time there was a rumor that he was coming to the time that he was officially signed to the time he arrived. And I think that helped in the hype around the match. He's the real deal. He comes on, has had a few sessions with his teammates, and looks like he fits in. The first thing I noticed when he came on the pitch was as he's come on, he's going up front, and I can see his arms moving around here, and he's looking at the guys beside him, and he's already starting to organize, and hasn't even touched the ball yet. So this is a guy that has so much to offer, both on and off the pitch. And last night, yeah, it's disappointing that the goal that he scored got called back, because you couldn't provide a better script than that. But it was offside. Having said that, he continues to show flashes on the pitch, and other than the fact that they equalized late, which was hugely disappointing, the night couldn't have gone much better, and there's a lot more to expect from Thomas and the team.
Yeah, it was a good second half for everybody. Even before he had come on, the play had started to tilt in Whitecaps' favor. I'm glad you brought up the organization and the gesticulations that he was making, because we even laughed about it a week and a half ago when he was still training with Bayern, Bobby. I mean, he knows he's never playing another game with Bayern again. He was at Bayern training doing the same, like guiding guys through positions. Like, he can't help but be that
Comes
leader.
by it, honestly. I'm not sure he can shake that.
And given Ryan is still weeks away, given you've lost Sam Adekube, of course, who's a veteran player, and Norenko for the foreseeable future, like bringing in a guy that's willing to say those sorts of things, that's not bad for this team down the stretch here.
No, and you can tell that it's natural. It's not forced. And I think because of the way that he's come in and initiated the introduction to his teammates and been warm and welcoming with them as well. I think that the reaction to the goal was great too, because it was why, and all the players crowded around him until they realized it wasn't a goal. But
Brian White dropping to his knees, Bobby, like it wasn't his goal. He knew it.
No, I know that. Everything that he does just reeks of class. He's just someone that understands that he's coming to a part of the world where the game isn't as accepted as it is pretty much everywhere else in the world. And I think he understands that he has to help build the sport. And there are countless examples of players that have come over and have his pedigree that have come over and just want to play. They don't want to do much else. And it's so disappointing. And the top guy of that list is Thierry Henry. He was a complete and utter waste of time off the pitch. Didn't want to sell the sport. Didn't want to play on turf. I love the fact that the press conference, when it's the first time the turf has come up. And I was waiting, like, since he officially signed, I was waiting. Okay, well, somebody's got to ask the question of the turf, because players like him just don't appear to like playing on turf. You got to ask the question. It took, well, you were there, obviously. It took 30 seconds for him just to kill that. No, he played up. He grew up playing on turf, and no problem. And he's going to train on grass. So again, just another example of a guy who accepts where he's come to, accepts that it's maybe not what it is in other parts of the world, but it's getting there. And with his help, it's going to get there quicker.
Bob, from a technical standpoint, with your eyes and all your years in the game, like what did you see last night? What kind of a player is he? What should Whitecaps fans and casual soccer fans anticipate from this guy?
Actually, he came as advertised, in my opinion, because you'd hear in advance, and I would, having watched him play over the years, he's not an athletic player in terms of the athleticism, and this is an athletic league with the big American boys, but if you're not that and you make your way through it as he has done in his career, winning 35 titles, it's a lot easier to come to a league where that might be even ramped up more than what he's used to. I'm not sure about that, but it just might be. And in his case, he will find space, and it'll be interesting in upcoming games. I just want to watch him. I don't want to watch the rest of the game, but I just want to see how his movement is, when he moves, where he moves. And he just, as has been the case in his career, he seems to find himself in the right spot at the right time. Now, that's not coachable. That's up here. You're born with that, and there are a few players that have it. Even Stuart Armstrong last year was a little bit like that, whole different level. But and so he's not going to disappoint because he's going to score goals. He's going to set up goals. He's going to, and just the fact that he came on the pitch and he started organizing players right away, he's invested. He's here and he wants to see this team do well.
We've talked about the fact this is maybe the best incarnation of the Whitecaps of the MLS era, at least, of all time, in terms of the skill level. Now, it's morphed with Pedro leaving and the injuries and all that sort of stuff, but it's a very good level, but it's not Bayern Munich. The risk, at least the perceived risk, I think, for people that don't know the game and don't know the player individually, because I think it varies, but is going to be, what's this guy going to be like playing with this group? This is not Bayern. This is not European Champions League. You've seen world-class players come to Vancouver before. Maybe not quite Thomas Müller, but Ruud Krol and
Alan Ball, actually.
Alan Ball, for sure.
Situation.
Yeah. So, do you remember sort of, any rumblings, any consternation about that? How did he fit in when he came in with expectation, obviously?
How did Thomas fit in?
No, how did Alan, like, for perspective, is there the expectation everybody's going to be at my level, or how is that adaptation for these world-class players?
Alan Ball was a seamless introduction. He had actually played. He didn't come from England. He played in Philadelphia and wasn't enjoying himself there. And there was a connection between the assistant coach at that time, Bob McNabb, and him. And I think he called Bob and said, "Hey, I want out of here." And Bob said, "Well, talk to Tony." And Tony realized he was a player that could, like we want Thomas to do, take us to another level. And he did just that from the time that he arrived. But the thing about players like that, and if you just use Alan Ball and Thomas as examples, they're demanding. They're very demanding, and not in a way that's going to piss players off. He's just going to make sure that he holds everybody accountable. And if he needs to probably at some point he's going to have to be critical, he'll do it in a way that I think won't be upsetting anybody. He just wants the team to do well, and he's been clear about that from the outset. So I don't think the different levels, they're different levels. That's a fact. You can't get around that. But the league continues to get better. The quality of player coming into the league continues to get better. And I just think that over the next couple of years that I don't know if he'll take the team on his shoulders, because I'm not sure that needs to really happen. And, take a big step back and just appreciate what this team has done, given all the circumstances that you talked about earlier and the players missing. And so he's just hopefully the icing on the cake. Alan Ball did it for us in 1979. He came in and he made us better, and he was very, very demanding. And but nobody was bothered with that, because whatever he was saying, he could back it up with a performance.
Bob, you probably knew more about this Muller situation before any of us, but Blake and I have sat here discussing over the last couple of weeks, and have heard from many in the audience who feel likewise, that it's just surreal that all of this is happening, that like one of the great figures in German sports history, one of the great figures in international soccer history, is here in Vancouver in a Whitecaps kit and plying his trade. How is this surreal at all for you, who has been through and seen a lot in the world of soccer?
Surreal is a good word. And when the rumor came up, obviously there were people that were suggesting, nah, there's no chance. He's not going to want to come to Vancouver. He's not going to want to play on turf. But the fact that the rumor became reality, I think there was a lot of people that were shocked that this was happening. And I don't know if we should be, because I mean, Vancouver is a beautiful city, and we have a team that is actually one of the better teams in the league. In spite of all the issues that the team has had this season, we're right up there. So for him, I would think in the twilight of his career that what he'd like more than anything is to continue to ply his trade, but do it in a place that, as he repeated or had said at the press conference, is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. So I think it's a match made in heaven, and ideally, what can happen over the course of this last 8 games is he continues. He's probably going to get a half a game next game, maybe even more, because I think he really wants to play, and clearly he's capable of, just by the virtue of watching what we watched last night. And the goal is get to the end of the season, finish as high as we can, and ensure that we get home field advantage, ideally throughout the playoffs. And if we have that, we've proven that we're very, very good at home. And we could have a repeat of 1979. And it was interesting to hear him at the press conference when he alluded to the history of the club, that he said, you could tell by the video of that 1979 celebration when we came back from New York that the city is ready to welcome that type of thing. And if we do it again, then the same will happen. And I'm convinced that it will as well.
I love it, Bob. Manifest it. Speak it into existence, sir.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful night at BC Place last night. Many more to come now. We're just getting started with Thomas Müller.
How about those fans?
The fans were extraordinary. We were saying earlier, Bob.
Yeah, it was great. And there's no reason why that's not going to continue. The buzz was, as soon as you got close to the stadium, you could feel the energy that was there. So it was great.
Awesome. Great having you back on the show. Thanks for the time, Bob.
Thank you, guys. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Sekeres and Price from the historic Wall Center. You cheer louder when you're rested, so book your staycation at the Wall. Just minutes from the stadium and arena, and, of course, unlock that Sekeres and Price rate. Call 604-331-1000. Some blackout dates apply based on availability. Well, terrific win for the British Columbia Lions Saturday at BC Place before a very good crowd of 23,318. They beat the Alouettes 36-18, a game that was never really in doubt. The only problem, it was simply to keep pace with the rest of the West as their division goes 4-0 against the East this week in CFL Weeks 11, all of them winning on their home fields.
No help.
No blood in the CFL West. Nathan Rourke throws for 382 yards and 4 touchdowns. Keon Hatcher have him a day.
Top of the league now.
He is. 11 catches, 156 yards, and 2 scores as the BC Lions and the BC Lions defense took advantage of the injured Montreal quarterback situations, 3 sacks and an interception. They got pressure early, too, which I think really unsettled the Alouettes throughout the game. So BC back to 500, 5-5. First time they've been at 500 since week 2. They're into Toronto Saturday to face the 2-8 Argos. The Argos, the worst team in the CFL. And speaking of these franchises, we'll get to Solly Elimimian in a second here, Mike. Speaking of these franchises, the CFL did release had a release late last week confirming that, yes, the FIFA World Cup is going to displace the Lions and the Argonauts from their home venues next season. Now, we talked to Lions president Dwayne Vanneau. He was in studio last week. Still no confirmation of where the Lions are going to play 2 home games since BC Place is not available. I'd be stunned if one of them isn't on the island. But we do have news on the Argos home games. Blake, they will play home games in Hamilton, Winnipeg, and Regina.
Wow.
It is not going over well with their small but vocal season ticket base.
But also get creative like the Lions. Like it just
Laurie
shows
Burst,
profound lack of creativity and want.
Right. Look, I can understand it from the standpoint of like those are the three places where you're going to get the biggest crowds because, Regina loves it. Some CFL football. The CFL is so hot right now in Winnipeg. So extra games there mean, probably bigger gate
Better
revenues.
bottom line. Yeah.
And, of course, Hamilton is the closest one just down the road, albeit it is the heated rivals stadium. Yeah, you would have thought they could have found at least one other venue. Exactly.
Do one of those, on Toronto Island,
somewhere
charming at the very
somewhere
least.
in your community, as opposed to just throwing your hands up. Well done on the Lions for retiring Solomon Elimimian's number 56. They will do so during a ceremony Saturday, October 4th at BC Place during the Gravy Bowl game against Calgary. He's a CFL or a Canadian Football Hall of Famer class of 2023. Of course, the first defensive player to win Most Outstanding Player in the CFL, did that in 2014. He was a Rookie of the Year, Most Outstanding Defensive Player, Grey Cup champion. He's really done everything there is to do in this league. And this part is interesting. Solly is the last guy who will have his number taken out of circulation. Christian Covington, Vancouver guy, is wearing it for the remainder of this season before 56 is retired. The Lions saying that they are renaming their Ring of Honor to Honored Numbers and will feature those numbers prominently in the stadium. Every number previously honored will remain out of circulation. New honored numbers will stay in circulation.
Yeah,
So they kind of the Leafs model there.
Yeah.
The problem is you're running out of numbers. So 11 numbers will not be worn going forward. 56, 81, G. Roy, 97, Brent Johnson, 65, 52, 30, 22, 15, 75, and 38. Those will be the ones that continue to be out of circulation.
Nathan
for
Rourke,
the BC Lions.
Nathan Rourke is hoping for that one day, perhaps, that honor. Up to third in passing yards now on the season, Matt. Mm-hmm. And his 16 touchdowns to 6 interceptions.
Pretty good.
Now compares pretty favorably against the rest of the league. He's third in touchdowns passed, and amongst the quarterbacks that have played the bulk of the games, 7+ starts, if you will. Mm-hmm. There's three guys with 5 interceptions. He's got 6, so he's right in the mix there. Is Nathan Rourke back?
Yeah, I think he honestly, when healthy, the quarterbacking has been good this year in the CFL. I watched several of the games this week as well. I mean, Bo Levi's been outstanding.
He's been great, yeah.
Trevor Harris has been darn good too. Watched some of that Ryder game against Hamilton. Arbuckle's having a pretty good year in Toronto. You got to hand it to him. And Vernon, when he's been healthy, has been very good.
Yep.
In Calgary as well. So BC in Toronto. It's a noon kickoff Saturday in week 12. C's, they win 5 of 6 in Spokane, including 6-1 Sunday, thanks to 6 quality innings from starter Jackson Wentworth and a 3-run home run from Matt Scannell just up from Dunedin. A few bats have been promoted here from Dunedin. So the good news, Vancouver Canadians are into second place in the Northwest League. The bad news, they're 9 games back of Eugene with 18 to play and no head-to-heads. Back home tomorrow to start the penultimate homestand at the Nat versus Tri-City. 7 p.m. starts Tuesday through Thursday, Friday nooner, Saturday postgame fireworks, and a Sunday lunch bag giveaway for the fans who are there early. Get your tickets, 604-872-5232 or CanadiansBaseball.com. Jays take 2 of 3 from Texas, now off on a 6-game road trip. Alas, it's Pittsburgh and Miami, so there should be plenty of wins available there.
Their next 3 series are all against sub-500 teams. They eventually get to teams that of repute, including the Brewers. But the next 3 series make some hay here and seal up the division.
Mariners have lost 4 of 6 and have much tougher sledding ahead. They begin a 3-game set in Philadelphia, holding a 4-game lead in the wild card, still, of course, trying to chase down Houston for top spot in the AL West. Interesting comment from Rob Manfred, Major League Baseball commissioner, yesterday on this Little League Classic broadcast. As you know, they now bring a regular season game, Mets and Mariners, to Williamsport and play it amidst all the festivities going on there with the Little Leaguers. He talked about expansion and realignment, Blake, where he mentioned that their playoffs right now have a problem with the 10 p.m. Eastern time zone slot, because that oftentimes features an Eastern or Midwestern team whose fan bases are being asked to stay up very, very late. And he talked about how with realignment, and he said the owners were aware of all of this, he talked about with realignment, the ability to have that window play, to have that game be a couple of West Coast, Pacific, or Mountain Time Zone teams. So people are wondering, like, is Rob Manfred realigning American League, National League? Or are we looking at something
like where one whole league is in
massive?
the West?
Like, are we looking at something that would do away with, a century and a half of American League and National League? I mean, they all play each other now. It's not, Blake and I grew up in an era where never they shall meet unless it's the World Series or Grapefruit or Cactus League games. Anyways, we'll see where that goes. Of course, the Athletics are moving to Las Vegas. Who knows what's going to happen with a couple of their other friends? Miami Tampa is had some issues, of course, after their stadium was destroyed by that hurricane.
So the insinuation is that you would do, whatever, the National League in the West and the American League in the East to avoid this?
No, I think the insinuation is that it's going to be an entirely a Western division with Western teams from both leagues. That's the only way that you're going to be able to guarantee two West Coast, Pacific, or Mountain Time Zone teams.
So the National League effectively becomes the Western Conference, and the American League becomes the Eastern Conference. That way, in the playoffs, everybody is going to be in the same two time zones, basically.
I'm not sure, Blake. Like, I think what he's talking about is like Dodgers, Angels, Vegas, Giants, Seattle, Arizona, like Colorado.
That's what I'm saying. All in one league.
Yeah.
No, but it has to be one league.
You want to call it a league, whatever you want to call it.
Because they've already got the Western divisions. We've already got divisions of Western teams. What you want to do is try to make sure that every series is Western. And the only way to do that is to have a whole league.
I'm interested to see how that goes. I was a huge supporter of pitch clock and some of the things that were canons for baseball that they weren't willing to change for the longest time, and did so successfully. Moving away from American and National League, just on the surface, I recoil at that, Blake. No,
what we have always said, both of us are in the same boat here. We love baseball for its history. It's the only league that goes back into the 1880s, for God's sakes.
Right.
It is part of its charm.
It had superstars at the turn of the century.
Yeah.
The last century.
Yes.
Little Mountain, the Canadian representative at the Little League World Series, 1-1. I was watching the game on Friday. They were down 1-0 early to Venezuela, had 2 outs, couldn't get out of the inning, wind up losing. Give up a couple more in that inning. They wind up losing 4-0. They come back and they beat Australia 12-0 for their largest margin of victory ever at this tournament. They're off today. They'll play again tomorrow. Vancouver Bandits, they fall just short in the CEBL West semifinal. They fall 105-103 to Calgary on 3 late free throws. It was a terrific season for Kyle Julius' squad. They went 19-5 to finish first in the West Division of the regular season. Good crowds at the LAC. I've heard great reviews on their game presentation and the vibes in the arena. And a smashing debut for the WNBA in Canada, as nearly 16,000 attend at Rogers Arena Friday to watch the Seattle Storm get a 2-point win over the Atlanta Dream. This was the first WNBA regular season game to be played outside of the United States. And it has the expansion Toronto Tempo franchise, which begins play next year, pledging 2 home games for our city here in Vancouver in 2026.
Very smart business to
try and nationalize the team.
We're not going to get a WNBA team.
Well, that's what some are saying after this, but
I don't think so. I don't think so. But if you can make that a regular thing, where even you get up to a third of the home games in Vancouver, like that's not a bad business.
You're not getting a third.
Well, how many games do they play?
Well, I mean, it's a basketball season, so it's enough. I mean, 2 is.
I think more than 2. I mean, a third might be a bit much, but 20% of the season, just to put real rules. Otherwise, you feel like you're being loaned a team.
It's 44 regular season games, so you get 22 home games.
So up to 5 home games, maybe. I mean, something to think about.
It's a long way to come. Yeah, we're gonna get 2 next year. We'll see where it goes.
See where it goes from there.
I'd be surprised if we get many more after that. We'll see. Vancouver FC lose a heartbreaker. You see this? They score in stoppage time, you think at the death, to forge a 4-4 draw. Then they give one up 3 minutes later in stoppage time at the death. They lose 5-4 to Cavalry. Vancouver Rise win 1-0 in Toronto. VFC hosts Forge FC Friday at Willoughby. Rise is in Ottawa on Sunday. And, of course, we are looking forward and hoping for a Vancouver Whitecaps FC versus Vancouver FC final in the Canadian Championship. The second legs of their respective series go next month.
Mid-month, yeah.
The Bogey Juice poll question results from Thursday. Is Thomas Müller the biggest name in Vancouver sports history? Yes or no? The people said.
So the question is, did people look at this objectively or subjectively? Generally, it's subjectively, so I'll say no.
They said yes.
69%.
Did.
Really? Okay, good.
So Mark Messier was a name that got a lot of shout here because, needless to say, he was a huge NHL name when the Canucks signed him way back when. But even Messier, I mean, he did much transcend hockey. I mean, huge in hockey circles, but as we talked about Thursday with this poll question, hockey is only so big, right? It's a regional sport. It's a niche sport globally. Soccer is not. Terry, the funniest thing, the answer to this would easily be a basketball player. If the Grizzlies decided to draft well just once, the list of players they missed is legendary. Fair enough, Terry. Like basketball player was really the only one that could compete in this realm because basketball's a global sport as well. Alas, it would have had to have been, I think, at a Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, like that
like
sort
Müller takes
of
down most
level.
NBA players too. So.
Yeah, like I don't care how good Sharif or Steve France, like Steve Nash, like
Vince Carter, like Thomas Müller is bigger than Vince Carter,
right?
So, like if you're looking at Raptor comparisons, for instance, like
Jay says having a connection to Vancouver long before most were even on this app, I can safely say yes. Yes, he's the biggest global athlete signing in Vancouver sports history. Aiden, the only answer is yes. Yes by a mile. It's not even close. As for errors and omissions, I promise we will get the spelling of his name correct. There was another mistake there. This one on me. Thomas, the TH.
Yes.
Müller. Umlaut on the U, no E.
My phone is starting to spell check that. Once you do that a bunch of times in your phone, it knows what you're trying to say.
Smartphones.
So it's starting to do that.
I should say congrats. Nick Taylor's made it through to the FedEx final. One of the last players in, but there's only 30. So he's going to get a chance to compete alongside Corey Connors in Atlanta after Scotty Scheffler wins again.
Pendrith
at the
misses out, but
double bogey and a bogey on 16-17 crushes his hopes.
But he means he gets into all 8 elevated tournaments for next year for Pendrith. That's his consolation prize, and those are the big money where you finish 20th and still make hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I got to say, that cut line yesterday was playing games with there was a lot of nervous guys. Who are coming,
and that's why I say, like, the PGA playoffs are still a good idea.
They're a good idea. I like them.
It's about execution. It's about getting it right.
Right. And this year, there's no strokes or anything like that in the final either. So, No further errors or
No,
omission.
nothing I've
Okay,
seen.
thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. A reminder for this week and next, at least, we're down to 2 shows, Mondays and Thursdays. And please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about and keep it local.